Hello everyone and welcome to the Advent of Decks, where each day of the Advent I will be posting one unique deck profile video. And starting off our Advent calendar, it is with a deck that is very close to me and that just yesterday got me my first day 2 of the season and a top 256 finish in Stuttgart Regionals, and that deck is of course TERA Charizard. Now, looking at this deck, it looks more of a pile less than a deck, but actually it works very good together, and once it gets set up, it's almost an indestructible machine. You have some bad matchups, but we'll get more into that later. So, why is it so powerful? We have both of the strongest search engines of the game combined in one deck. We have the Noctowls plus the PGOTX. PGOTX, as we all know, can grab you any one card from the deck you'd like, and Noctowl can bring you two trainer cards. And as we all know, trainers are some of the most powerful cards in the game. So, and we can grab essentially three cards each turn with this deck, which is insanely good. And all of that, both of those engines are enabled actually by the new supporter from Phantasmal Flames, which is Dawn. And talking a little bit about our attackers, because there are quite a few. So we have a Charizard line, the 2-1 Charmander split, the 80 HP Charmander, which is also from Phantasmal Flames, with its agile ability, is a great pivot because if it doesn't have an energy attached, it is essentially a free retreat Pokemon, the same as PGOTX, for example, which is insanely good because, well, we can use it to as our starter at the beginning of the round. If we get to Fan Rotom, get Fan Call, get Ditto, we can freely retreat into the Ditto, get our other attackers in play as well, or our Terra Pokemons, or mainly it's gonna be both. And also, the beauty of this Charmander, while it is not Body Buff and searchable because of its 80 HP, the beauty is that Howlucha plus Phantom Dive doesn't knock it out, which is good so it can survive some of the Dragapult hits as well. Still, Dragapult a bad matchup, but we'll get more onto that later. The Charmeleon with 110 HP is a bit of a choice because, well, 110 HP means that the Charmeleon cannot be knocked out by Soul Rock plus Premium Power Pro, which brings Soul Rock just to 100 HP, and that 10 extra HP means they need to find Vitality Band as well, and that is quite a hard combo to pull off before we can get into our Charizard. And Charizard EX, as we all know, one of the best attackers in the game that packs a bigger punch after each prize card our opponent has taken, and also a dark attacker, which bodes great into Gardevoir EX, which is weak to dark, slightly less now with Mega Diancie, but still hitting for weakness always feels nice. Now, our additional attackers in the deck are also the Wellspring Mask Ogrepon, which are going to be our early game attackers or our late game attackers. And early game attackers mainly against evolving decks, because the Torrential Pump attack is super powerful because we can bench snipe and snipe the active, meaning we can knock out two Dreepies, two Dracloaks, two Curlias, whatever, all of these stage 1s or basics in the stage 2 decks, which are, let's be honest, some of the strongest decks currently in the format. They can easily be knocked out by Torrential Pump, which is insanely good. And to enable that Torrential Pump early on, we have one Sparkling Crystal as the ace pack of choice, just in case we prize both of our water energies, and we also have one Crispin, which can help us load up that Wellspring Mask Ogrepon. Additionally, with the ace pack attached on the Wellspring Mask Ogre Pawn, we can also charge it up with Charizard DX, because Charizard DX accelerates free energies from our deck, and we can accelerate two of them to the Wellspring Mask Ogre Pawn, one of them onto the Charizard, attach another one to the Charizard, and once again Torrential Pump with a Charizard ready behind it to start swinging once the Wellspring Mask Ogre Pawn gets knocked out. So that is super good card for the early game aggression, and it's also very strong in the late game, especially in decks that don't play much switch outs such as Jet Energies, Turos, or switches or whatever, because, well, the first attack of the Wellspring Ogre Pawn is Sob, which deals 20 damage plus Retreat Lock, which is also insanely strong and has won me a couple of games in Stuttgart this past weekend as well. Additional attacker in the deck is also the Terapagos EX, also very good because it is a Noctowl enabler, because it is a Terra Pokemon, meaning we can search for it with Dawn to enable our Noctowls. Again, a super powerful card, and why do we play specifically the Terapagos? Well, Terapagos was a choice because we needed an answer for the Cornerstone Ogre Pawn, which is, well, was played heavily in most of the counter decks, such as Mega Box or Absol Box, however do you want to call it. And we needed an answer for that because otherwise we, well, just lose against Cornerstone. Because all of our Pokemon have abilities except for the Wellspring Mask Ogre Pawn. One more attacker in the deck is also an attacker that won me quite a few games, and that is the Chi-Yu, which hits for a single price basic, which hits for a whopping 140 damage after one of our Pokemon have been knocked out, which is insanely good, meaning that it deals 280 to Goldengos, 280 to any fire weak decks or fire weak Pokemon, which is insanely good because it can one shot two prizers, and it is a one prizer that needs to be dealt with and needs to be prioritized to be, well, knocked out right after. Talking a little bit about the supporters as well, like I said, we have Dawn, three of them, which are our main enablers. I was maybe missing one Dawn, or maybe two would have been enough, so I've settled on three Dawn, which is insanely strong supporter specifically for this deck. It is not so great in other decks as much as it is in that one. We have Crispin to load up our Wellspring Mask Ogre Pawn. We have Briar as well, because Briar can help us get one additional prize card once our opponent is at two prize cards. And, well, all of our main attackers, except for Chi-Yu, is a Terra Pokemon, so Briar is a must-have inclusion in this deck. We also need to play 3 bosses orders and 1 counter catcher because, well, we need to gust up some of the Pokemon that we can easily knock out with either torrential pumps, so say Ralts or Curlia, or with Charizard because, well, sometimes we just get so much ahead that Charizard can't deal enough damage to the active, so we need to take something from their bench to KO it, and that's why we need a lot of Gust cards, so 4 altogether, 3 bosses orders and 1 counter catcher, I think is a valid count. Additionally, we have 1 Iono for hand disruption, and I think that's basically all of our supporters covered. Speaking of items, we have rare candies to evolve into Pidgeots and Charizards. We have Nesball to search out our basic Pokemon. We have Poffins for Charmanders and Hoothoots and Fenrotums early in the game. We have Nestballs, I think I already mentioned that one. We have 1 Ultra Ball for the evolving Pokemon, so Noctowls, Pidgeots, or Charizards, and that's basically it. Nothing special regarding the items, and our stadiums are 2 Area Zeros, makes sense. We need a bunch of bench space to do all of our gymnastics in the game with the Noctowls and Pidgeot and Charizards and Wellspring Masks. Even 8 places on the bench is sometimes not enough, so Area Zero is a must-have in the deck. And just to make some of the matchups a bit better, we also have a one-off copy of Battle Cage, which is a new stadium card that was released in Phantasmal Flames as well. And for our energy split, we have 2 water energies, 5 fire energies, which can get accelerated with Charizard. Water energies can be accelerated with Crispin, and 1 jet energy, which is a great switch card in this deck. So, talking a little bit about the matchups. The matchups are kind of strange. Mainly, we have 50-50 matchup into, well, vast majority of the meta. We have slightly favored matchups into most of the evolving decks. Why? Just because of that Torrential Pump, which is such a powerful card, well, powerful attack, so we can really disrupt Gardevoirs and Dragapults and Charizards, and all of the evolving decks can really get slowed down if they don't get the setup. And if we get the setup and early aggression going, we can break their setup, and it is smooth sailing from there on out. Well, most of the games at least. And of course, all of the evolving decks are really good, and well, there are not many basic decks in this current meta, except for maybe Raging Bolt, which is kind of a 50-50 matchup if we take their Ogre Pawns early and they don't get a knockout. If they whiff 1 knockout on our Charizard, we are sailing smoothly through that matchup. But it can really go both ways. For Goldengo, for example, the most played deck in these regionals, I think we have a very favored matchup because we can torrential pump their Gimmigholes. We can hit them with the Chiyu once the uh, Wellspring Mask Ogre gets knocked out. And once Chiyu gets knocked out, we deal enough of a punch with Charizard DX as well. So Goldengo is very favored for us. Gardevoir, if they play classic Gardevoir, it is heavily favored for us. If they play Frillish or Jellicent, it gets way trickier because we are very susceptible to item lock, and it is a bit more difficult to get a setup if you can't play item cards, unfortunately. And the same way that Gardevoir with the Jellicent is kind of unfavored for us. Similarly, also Dragapult Dusknoir is very unfavored for us because they can set up big knockouts with the Dusknoirs if we don't get Battle Cage down. Also, they play Stadium Bumps, so it can get bumped pretty easily. Also, they are item locking us with Bidoo, which is also really not great, and it is all in all a very tough matchup. But yeah, all in all, to summarize, I really like this deck. I think it's super fun, super strong, and it is, I think, one of the decks that can really use Dawn to its maximum potential. So yeah, that's all for today, you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and see you guys tomorrow.